What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All 22 NFL show. We're going to do a little daily episode today, Ray, because we only have 5 minutes, and the game yesterday had some pretty big stuff happening, and I thought it was very important to talk about. So I dragged you onto this podcast, but it's two players. It's Anthony Richardson and it's Rashawn Slater that we need to talk about. Let's start off with Anthony Richardson. So Anthony Richardson goes down in this game with what looked like he destroyed his pinky on his throwing hand. It was not very long into the game, but I mean, this is just kind of going into the rhythm of Anthony Richardson hasn't been able to stay on the field for 5 minutes in his NFL career. And this is a guy with very limited snap production in college, in the NFL in general. And now he might miss time in this preseason. Part of me saying, like, this is the point where I'm like, this just might be it for him. Like, it's not a big injury. I get it. It could probably be fixed in like 6 weeks. It just might be it.
I mean, we talked about Trey Lance in the previous episode about how few snaps he has had despite being in the league for a few years. Anthony Richardson's kind of that same mold. Came into college without a lot of experience, extremely raw. It's just that he's big, he's athletic, and has a big arm. So he was taken extremely high in the draft, but by no means was he ready for the NFL. And this injury is a result of him not being ready. That was his responsibility in the protection. And he did not account for the blitzer that ended up destroying his pinky and making it look like a dig route. So how long he's out, all those details, we'll learn more. But I think it's fair to say this is yet another, it's not even a speed bump. It's a legitimate setback in his development. And at this point, he's going to be in the league for 3 years now, having not provided or shown or proved any steady increase in production or enough flashes to justify him being invested in as a starting quarterback. He's going down the Trey Lance path, basically. And in this instance, it was his inexperience that caused his injury. It wasn't just a sort of a fluke, unfortunate thing. It was his responsibility that got him hurt.
So if you haven't done your startup draft yet, I would say we need to pass on Anthony Richardson at this point. I'm in a draft right now. I just drafted him. It happens. But if you're relying on Anthony Richardson, you need to have a backup plan. And honestly, it's not even a backup plan at this point. Like, you need to have a new plan. And it might even be waiting till next year's draft to draft QB1 in next year's draft. So unfortunately, that is the case. Rashawn Slater, tell us what happened with him.
Torn patella tendon. He's out for the year. Maybe ruptured, not torn. I'm not sure if there's an actual difference. I'm not a doctor. And I'm just devastated. We just talked about him as like being able to be the offensive tackle one in the league at any given point. And then
what did we say? But what else did we say?
He has to stay on the field and prove it over a long period of time. And yet again, that he hasn't done that. And it's just incredibly unfortunate. And I think the Chargers, their style of offense and their offensive line, I think they have done a good enough job to still be okay up front, but it's going to be a hit. It's going to be a hit that impacts Herbert and does impact Hampton to an extent, that entire offense, because again, you can't lose a tackle this good, this talented, this productive, and just not skip a beat because you run the ball downhill and do hard play action. It's still going to be an impact on everybody in that offense, despite the fact that, yes, I think the offensive line has gotten better and is to a point where they won't tank because of this, but it's a major hit. And especially for those who have Rashawn Slater, who have invested a lot in him in all 22, it's a massive hit. And good for Rashawn Slater for signing that contract when he did. This is why it's so important for players and why they care so much about locking up that long-term security. This is Exhibit A. So at least Rashawn Slater has that going for him, but really unfortunate we're not going to see him on the field again this year. Immense talent that we're going to miss.
Yeah, I did a study a few years ago. It might be more than a few years ago now. Dang. Basically just looking at the history of players that get injured early on in their career, whether it's college or, fresh in the NFL, and how that kind of translates to how long will they last in the NFL. And there was a direct correlation into players that got injured early to having short careers that a lot of times ended in injury, right? So whether it's, Sam Bradford from back in the day, right? Like players like that, when a player deals with injuries frequently and often, that doesn't just stop, right? And we see it with Tua, we're seeing it with Anthony Richardson, we're seeing it with Rashawn Slater. Like I think the lesson that we need to continue to learn is when a guy is dealing with injuries over and over and over again, that doesn't go away. I think Andrew Thomas is another one that we've spoken about, just about his injury history and how it's kind of hard for fantasy owners to invest in a player like that and really feel comfortable. So you have to recognize there's a huge risk in having those players. It doesn't mean that they won't have a year here and there where they're phenomenal. Rashawn Slater already has proven that, right? And I'm sure he will come back from this and play several seasons of very high football, but his career is going to be shorter than other guys. And that's the point I just wanted to make. There's a lot more we should discuss about this preseason week, and we will do a full episode doing that. But just needed to step on and talk about these two massive injuries that will have impacts on fantasy drafts. So wanted to get it to you as soon as we can. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll talk soon.
Go.